Should be live now. Let me just, yep, looks like everything is working. Let me just check my layout one more time. Yeah, everything should be good. Let me know if you can't hear me or anything is not working. What's up, Environment? Lovely Saturday morning here. Dude, it's still Friday. It's not even Friday night yet. It's not even dark yet here. But that's it's so weird to think that it's like already Saturday for you. But yeah, today we have pulled up a few different interviews from Robert Anton Wilson. Um, we maybe get through them all. I don't know. It depends how many tangents I go off into, or if I just take forever to get through the videos. But I also pulled up a young video that we can watch as well. So got some good stuff. This first one here is just like I think this really summarizes Robert Anton Wilson. If you don't know who he is, very I don't like I guess you could say he had like a cult following. He's not like a super well-known author. You can't get his stuff in Barnes and Nobles, but to the people that read him, they really love him, and I'm one of those people. I enjoy his nonfiction, his works of I don't even know if you consider them philosophy. They're very much out there. It's a mix between philosophy, New Age stuff, spirituality, exploration of Jung's ideas, and really just a unique perspective. And then you have his fiction, such as the Illuminatus trilogy, which is great. I've only read the first part, and I have not prepared myself for the second or third part yet, but very good, very interesting, and you'll get what I'm saying immediately once you start listening to this guy because his basic idea is what the thinker thinks the prover proves. So essentially that perspective is fractured and we all have our own perspective in the different way we view the world.
Goeiedag. Samenzweren is het woord in het Engels. Samenzwering in de wereld. Control. That is a reassuring title, so to wait a second.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Everything is under control
That was horrifying, wasn't it?
in English means everything is okay. But
Yep.
everything is under control also suggests that somebody is controlling everything, somebody
Yeah.
we don't know about. So it has a double meaning.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Are all conspiracies real?
Oh no, there are more imaginary conspiracies than real ones. People are very imaginative, more than you realize.
Honestly, sometimes the conspiracy theories are so much like I want to believe in them so much more than the actual truth about things. Like they're so out there, they're so weird, they're so crazy that I'm like, I hope to God that this is true because it would make it so much more fun.
People have a great talent for inventing imaginary conspiracies.
But do you believe in it? That's more important.
Well, I don't believe in anything. I think belief is the death of intelligence. Once you believe in something, you don't have to think about it anymore.
So he's saying something extremely important because he's saying belief is the death of intelligence. If you believe something beyond whatever metric of skepticism, then there's no thought behind it. If there's no thought behind it, then there's not actual fervent conviction. You just believe it for the sake of believing it. Think about it this way, like if you're never tested, you never know how strong you are. And it's the same thing with your beliefs. It's the same thing with the things that you hold true in this world. If you never look at the other perspective, then there's no reason for your belief to have any sort of conviction or any sort of value. It's just something that goes unchallenged. And there's really a thing of genius that he's stating in
The
this.
more things you have firm beliefs about, the less you got to think about. When you have firm beliefs about everything, you don't have to think at all anymore. Then you're ready to join a cult or a religion.
And really what he's saying is just question things. Like it's okay to believe stuff, but be open to the other perspective because it's our openness that allows us to change. And if you don't ever change, then what's the point of going on? You got a convolution the other night and you got a black eye and split your eyebrow. What? Is there something like above you? Like how'd that happen? Or you just fall off the bed? Or you just like lying? I hope you're lying to me. That's crazy. What's up, Louisville? How's it going, man? Did you read the assigned reading yet? I hope this isn't too loud. I'm gonna mute it for the music. Dude, the last stream I did got like copyrighted to a crazy degree. Like it literally took me 3 hours of checking in and editing out the parts that were copyrighted because I don't know how to a convulsion. What did I say? Convolution? When's that due for? Probably Sunday again. I'm thinking Sunday's probably the best time to do it. It's only like 7 pages. It's not like and it's not like Emerson where it's like very dense. It's a story, so it's like it's not like every word you have to do a deep analysis of. It's just a story. So just get the main points of it. It's not gonna like to like me reading Self-Reliance, it probably took a few hours to do, even though it's very short. Um, but it's so dense that I wanted to spend more time with it and really get the most of it. You find yourself with your head in your dog's bowl. Oh, wow. You okay though? I mean, I'm guessing you're okay if you're watching my stream, unless you're like in bed and you can't move. I hope everything's okay. That's crazy. Is that something that happens to you normally?
In 1973, I became convinced for a while that I was receiving messages from outer space. But then a psychic reader told me I was actually channeling an ancient Chinese philosopher, and another psychic reader told me I was channeling a medieval Irish bard.
This is so funny because if you go on like Twitter today or you just watch different forms of media, different channels and stuff, they're all talking about the same event, but they get to the conclusion from a different perspective. You're right. Okay, that's good to hear. And like he's like half making fun of it, but I'm pretty sure he's serious as well. But the thing about reading this guy's writing or listening to him talk is that he gets you to question things. And it's very it's very refreshing nowadays to have somebody that's so willing to question himself, so willing to like not sell you on his own perspective, to tell you that like don't listen to every word I say, don't hang on every word I say. Like there's something so refreshing in that because now it seems like everyone that's any sort of acclaim, they're trying to sell you something. It's all for the purpose of a click funnel. It's all for the purpose of a message. Like if I don't fit this base, then this base doesn't like me and people don't pay attention to me. So I have to curtail my own perspectives. I have to sell you on a certain ideology. I have backers that want me to push a certain thing. It is frustrating. What's up, Tech Light? How's everything, man?
And at that time, I started reading neurology, and I decided it was just my right brain talking to my left brain. And then I went to Ireland, and I found out it was actually a 6 foot tall white rabbit. They call it the puka, and the Irish know all about it. So it depends on who I'm talking to, which of these metaphors I use to explain where these weird.
This is just so funny though to think about because like even in your day-to-day conversation, like you can talk to different people about the same topic and you'll hear a different reason. Like the person that is all for science, all for set belief systems, they're going to say, well, that's just a figment of your imagination. The religious person is going to say, well, that's a demon talking to you. Like the whatever perspective person is going to tell you their own perspective on things. And it's so funny to see it in this way. You've always had convolutions, but you're not epileptic. And it's interesting. That's weird. Is it like sleep paralysis? Is that what it is? Because I used to have that. I don't get it. I have no idea why I don't get it anymore. It just went away one day. I always thought it was like because I gained a little weight that I got it, but I'm the same weight I was when I had it. I don't get it anymore. So God knows what that can mean. There's all sorts of esoteric implications with that, but we're not going to get into that.
patterns come
Yeah.
from that jump out of the books and take hold of the readers and change their lives. It's not me, it's a 6 foot tall white rabbit from County Kerry. Or it's the right hemisphere of everybody's brain.
Hmm.
We're only different in the left hemisphere. In the right hemisphere, we all share in the same morphogenetic field
The collective
and
unconscious.
the collective unconscious.
Now, you've been accused by some people, one might think of them as fundamentalist materialists, as being something of a fanatic, actually. And yet it seems that you're almost the opposite. Reality is extremely slippery.
It's so funny because he is a fanatic in a sense. He's a fanatic in that there's no set me like it's like the idea like if you're a nihilist, it means you believe in nothing. But believing in nothing is believing in something. It's like you can't really get away from having convictions about things. It's always just what you put it towards. Like you can't help but be a contradictory person unless you're Buddha or Jesus or whatever enlightened figure throughout history. Like you can't exist without contradictions, but there's people that want to stand on some sort of moral ground and tell you what is good versus what isn't good. And it's like, I mean, you could always try, but you're always going to come up short in that
For you,
sense.
I don't get the feeling that you're stuck on any one model of reality.
Well, you know what Freud wrote about projection. The people, yeah, I have been accused of being a fanatic, and
It's so funny that Freud wrote about projection because his entire belief system is in a sense projection. Like it's the funniest like thing whenever somebody says, "Oh, you're just projecting," because you always are. Any sort of comment, any sort of judgment you make onto someone is it's your projection of your consciousness onto them. But does it make it wrong? I mean, no, but it is projection. It's such a funny thing to say
the
because you could blanketly say it about everything.
skeptical inquirer, but you just have to open that journal to see the people who put it out are all fanatics. And the people who accuse me of being possessed by devils are all the type of right-wing fundamentalist who rolls around and speaks in tongues and gives all the signs of being possessed by the devil themselves. So I tend to look at,
It's so fun.
I think I basically I'm a mirror. My books are mirrors, and when a monkey looks in, no philosopher looks out.
Well, how do you separate the inside from the outside?
Well, that is one of the difficulties. That's why people get embroiled in weirdities while they're reading my books, because I'm dissolving the difference between the inside and the outside. Like most people think their head is inside the universe, but I have demonstrated in several of my books that the universe is inside our head is outside the universe. Like
Projection is hard to fathom because it points to there only being ourself. Yeah. I mean, I think like even all these ideas are like somewhat just semantic arguments, where it's just like we're talking about the same thing, but we're just not willing to see that we're talking about the same thing. Because like you could, old guy who didn't care that they were bald is so funny. Are you talking about like Larry David, like people that just like they don't shave their head?
this whole studio, for instance, it's got to be inside my head or I wouldn't be aware of it. I've got a model of it inside my head.
Hmm.
Now, inside that model of the studio is a model of me, and on top of the model of me is a model of my head. But that's not my real head. My real head contains the studio and my body and this model of a head. And it's the same with the whole universe. The whole universe is a model contained in my head, which contains a model of my head. So I
Very easily, because this is getting very convoluted. It's like you see the world through your eyes. That's all he's saying. Is that in your head you're seeing the world as a representation of what your eyes see. An easy way to explain this is everything you see in front of you that has color doesn't have color. It's just that the atoms are vibrating to create a frequency that gives the appearance of color. It's just that like your mind is modeling everything through your senses, through your perception, is what he's saying. But is that model the truth, or is there something more? He's just a very highbrow way of just saying the Platonic idea of forms is, which is just saying that what you see is not exactly what is there. I think there's magnetism, there's gravity, there's other forces that are beyond our sight.
I've got two heads, the head outside the universe and the head inside the universe. Now, that should be perfectly clear, but if it isn't, Bertrand Russell has a proof using six-dimensional geometry in his book, The Nature of Human Knowledge. I hope that clarifies which is inside and which is outside, and we don't have to get trapped in that again.
Well, one of the points that you often make is that we get caught up in these apparent paradoxes because of linguistic habits and a habit that we've had since the time of Aristotle of thinking in terms of syllogistic logic.
Well, yeah, I believe our language, we can only see what we observe, and we can only observe what we have categories for in our language.
It's just a small fraction of reality that's in anyone's head, though. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the Blake quote. Hold on. I think William Blake has the best way of explaining this, and Huxley put it in the front of this book to help us all out. But if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. And really, what that's saying is that the way in which we observe the world is somewhat flawed. I think you can't see everything in the entire world all at once. So how can you know what's actually happening? It's just because you're seeing it through a limited frame of perspective that you think you can see it, but it's not, in essence, everything. And these are ideas, it's like you could always go like, how important is this? Not very important. But then it becomes important when you start discussing something with somebody because your perspective is shaped by your experience. So if you've experienced a very difficult life and you were able to triumph over it, whereas somebody experienced difficulties and they weren't able to triumph over it, your perspective is going to be, well, you could pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, the other person is going to take the opposite way. And an argument's going to ensue, and you will never see that person's side of things. You will never be able to understand that argument unless you can put yourself in their shoes. Everything in your head is necessarily a copy of something else. What do you mean by that?
Language. That's known as the Whorf hypothesis in anthropology. Actually, it goes back to Guillaume Battista Vico, an 18th century Neapolitan who has been a major influence on me as well as on James Joyce. And my books are full of neologisms and odd uses of language just to break through the habits of perception that
There's also, I would say his biggest influences are probably Joyce. Jung is one of them. Korzybski, um, Borges or Borges. Was fascinated by Huxley as well. Those are just the names that I remember that he references a whole lot. And William Burroughs, who I don't know much about, and Timothy Leary,
conditioned by
who's
using ordinary English.
Mm-hmm.
Leary's an interesting character. I don't know if I believe anything he said, but legit a life straight out of the movies.
You once wrote a whole book without using the verb is.
Yes, that's quantum psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I also break sentences up in the Burroughs way, so there's no subject and predicate. I use Joycean stream of consciousness. I run words together, so one word has 5 different meanings depending on which way you look at the sentence, like Joyce did in Finnegan's Wake. All of this is attempts to get us out of the lines of word and image that will.
So he's doing these things to break the way that you normally see the world. Like I said earlier, his whole point of things is to make you question what is real, what isn't real. Have I thought about this? Have I been blinded by bias? Have I in some way been guided in the wrong direction simply for the fact that I wasn't observant of it?
Laid down by our ancestors. After all, if we're seeing the world our ancestors put into our language, we're not seeing the world we're living in. It's obvious that our ancestors did not live with computers, spaceships, George Bush, and other incredible occurrences.
What's up,
but a
Zachariah? How's
typical
everything,
of
man?
our lives.
All right, pretty interesting video. I have another one. Wow. Okay, this one's a little longer. I'm gonna say I only pulled up three videos from him, and we're only 20 minutes in. This one should take me a lot longer than we could get to the young one. I was like, for a second, I was like, oh shit, I have to pull up more things. But I don't think we'll. This one's 15, the other one's 15, so I think we should be good on it. Because I don't want to. I have something big next week, so I don't want to stream like too long because I want to get some stuff done after this. I'll still try to go around 2 hours, but just fair warning. And then after next week, I will try to get back to the 4 or 5 hour streams. I don't know how I did it. I used to be able to do it, and maybe it's just because we did a different style of stream where it was just like question and answer, so I could just get lost in my own tangents and we could just keep going. Maybe that's how I did it. I don't remember though, but I look back at my channel and I see like a 5.5 hour stream and I'm like, I don't know how I did this just straight up me alone. Like it would be much easier if there was someone talking to me like in the room so that my voice wouldn't go. But yeah, that's something to think about as I continue going, that maybe like at some point get on guests or talk to people or I don't know. There's a lot of different formats that we could start going into and experimenting and having fun with because I think the most interesting aspect of streaming is the interaction because it's one thing for me to say my ideas, but it's another for somebody to ask a question or somebody to bring up a point or somebody call me an idiot and then I laugh at myself and breaks my train of thought and then we move on to something new all out of a sudden. It's just it makes it more like a conversation to me, whereas in videos it's just me ranting. So I think I'm much better at streaming for that fact because I don't script anything.
Tonight we have
Let me just.
over 30.
What big thing do you have next week? I don't want to tell you guys because it's gonna put pressure on me. Some of you know, don't say. I'll tell you. I'll tell you if I do well on it. If I don't do well on it, we're not talking about it. I should have a water bottle I take sips from. I have coffee, which in some way would help with like I don't know, just like the hot coffee sometimes would help your throat. You would also know what's the big project? I told you, but or maybe I didn't. We'll talk about it next week. I don't want to stress myself out and get myself hyped up. And it's that thing. It's like when you talk about something, you don't have to do it. It's that sort of thing. It's like if I tell you my dreams, if I tell you my goals, um, then I get some sort of satisfaction and you're like, oh, that's awesome. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And I get some of that need to go out and strive because I told you that goal and it kind of takes away my fight, my fire to go do things. Do you know what I mean? Like you hear that person that's like, oh, I could have been this, I could have done this if my coach had just put me in, and it like allows them to reminisce and somewhat live out their dreams. Whereas like I just want to experience them. I don't want to tell people what I do before I do it so that I don't feel like I'm a liar to myself. I feel like I'm getting very deep into like something that doesn't matter, but
Books, who's an internationally known figure as an author, lecturer, philosopher, a stand-up comedian.
if you're ever in the car or you are at the gym and actually if you don't have YouTube Premium, it's not worth it. But like he has a bunch of Robert Anton Wilson, just look up Robert Anton Wilson. There's a bunch of lectures on a bunch of different things. He's so interesting. You'll light a candle for me.
Sit-down
It better be a bunch of candles because I need all the help I can get.
comedian, stand-up philosopher, you name it. Mr. Robert Anton.
No, I'm not going on a date. What would the date be that would make me blush this much? Like, I don't get nervous by that kind of stuff because like think I'm very good at speaking to people. That doesn't make me nervous. Like if I was like proposing or something, maybe that would be, but like I feel like I wouldn't be nervous about that. I'd be excited about it. Where I'm more so nervous, you know what I mean?
Anton Wilson. Bob, thanks very much for being here tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Good. Now, your latest book is entitled "Everything Is Under Control." It's a conspiracy encyclopedia. Is that correct?
Oh, it's not exactly an encyclopedia. It's more a crestomathy. If we did an encyclopedia of all the conspiracy theories around in this country today, it would be at least as long as the Britannica, 22 volumes minimum. This is
My favorite part about this guy is that he talks about all of the conspiracies regardless of how dumb or how real they are. It's like he throws them out there because like whenever you get into the idea of a conspiracy, like you start getting rid of your logic because then you start trying to see a conspiracy in everything. Whereas in him showing you, oh, there might be something to this, and then he shows you something about like the moon is cheese or something. You know what I mean? Like something that's completely out there that you're like, all right, there's no basis behind that. But like what you see nowadays is people are either all full on board with every single conspiracy and they don't want to believe that there's any sort of actual structure to anything, or they're completely in the opposite direction. And you really don't have the discernment. You really don't have the ability to see the forest from the trees.
this is a crestomathy. It's some of the wilder and weirder It does cover a lot, though, I must say, as much as one book can.
Reminds you of Terrence McKenna. I can't remember if they were friends, but if you know who Timothy Leary is, he was friends with Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary is very briefly, there's so much more than this. He was a MIT or Harvard. What was the one that was doing LSD research? Maybe it was Stanford, but he was a professor of psychology at some very prestigious institute, was testing LSD and was testing the effects on people, had all sorts of research. Some of it he kind of fudged, some of it's a little sketchy, but essentially he was a institutional researcher into LSD. They outlawed it, and basically he wasn't willing to ditch the potential that it could be beneficial. Again, I'm not so sold on that idea. I don't necessarily think that people should be doing psychedelics. I think it's more of like a it's it's like drinking. Like, should everyone drink? No, I don't think people that are obviously gonna have problems with it should do it. If you're schizophrenic, it's probably gonna set you over the edge. Like, it's one of those things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't judge you for doing it, but if you do it, like, just know the risks. The risks. And then Leary kind of became like a pariah, and they locked him up in jail. And he was like 50 years old and escaped from jail. And like while he was in jail, Robert Anton Wilson was like the only person that went to interview him, and they became friends and all. Very, very weird connection, very interesting connection. Robert Anton Wilson got accused of being his CIA handler. Hilarious because Wilson himself was on all sorts of lists. There's like a whole history. There's an autobiography, or not an autobiography. There's a biography about him that'll go into all sorts of details like this. But very interesting guy, had very interesting connections to counterculture. This guy worked for Playboy. At some point in his career, he was a writer for their like you could submit questions and ask the opinion of the editor or something, whatever, and he would respond to those, and he would talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. But yeah, that's a little background onto to him and his connection with Larry.
How did you choose from among the millions of conspiracy theories that are current these days? How did you choose which ones to include in the encyclopedia?
Well, there were a couple of
Christmas.
criteria. I wanted to put in the weirdest, craziest, goofiest ones, and I also want to put in the most plausible ones so that the reader would be constantly alternating between laughing out loud at this nonsense and wondering, hey, some of this might be true, which is the ideal state for a reader to be in, I think.
Never knowing whether it's truth or fiction, or factor reality. Well, again, conspiracy is an extremely hot topic these days. Conspiracy theory.
I feel like it's now more popular than ever. I mean, it's just gonna happen because of all the stuff that's coming out in the news. It's like it's just been proven you can't believe media, like that they have an agenda, that they're backed by billionaires, that they're backed by the same people that they're purporting to reveal the truth about. So how could you ever trust them? But now it's also coming out that like a lot of like independent media people are also backed by the same people. So it's like, what do you even believe? How can you discern what's real? How can you determine if you're getting bamboozled or not? Like, it's just my my suggestion is don't pay attention to things that don't actually affect you. You don't have to become a geopolitical expert. You don't have to become a activist. You don't have to do anything except just live your life. If something affects your life, pay attention to it. If it doesn't, do not worry about it. I don't care about gas prices because I can't control them. It's it, it's a monopoly. Okay, cool. What am I going to do about it? Like, you know what I mean? It's just we spend too much time and energy and effort into things that we can't dictate, that we can't control. I want to put my time and energy into my creative endeavors, my writing, my reading, my streaming, my videos. I want to put it into the relationships I love and the people that mean most to me. You know what I mean? It's just we have a very dumb way of looking at the world nowadays. Is a consensus that we have to pay attention to the world. We have to spread our attention so thin that we can't, you know, even have a conversation with our neighbor because, oh, well, this person voted for this person, so they're evil. It's the dumbest thing. At some point, the theorists probably would stop fighting the stereotypes society puts on them and lean into the crazy. Yeah, it's just the thing is, the word conspiracy theory was coined by one of the Dulles brothers, who one was like a founding member of the CIA, and two, the word was coined to throw shade at the people that were questioning the JFK narrative, which is obviously not the real narrative. So it's like it's just like it's such a word that whenever you say it's like poison. It's like it devalues anything else interesting you have to say. It's like the thing about conspiracy theories that are interesting is that they question official narratives, which should happen. You shouldn't believe what the government tells you. You shouldn't believe what the news tells you. You shouldn't blindly believe what anyone tells you. And the fact that people get angry because somebody comes to a conclusion that's different from yours, maybe they have a different conclusion, but there's something interesting in there that you can listen to that changes the way you view things, that makes you in some way not subject yourself to blind authority. It's just it's so dumb the way we look at things, but it's like, well, I can't like this person because they're bad. I can't listen to anything this person says because they're from a different uh ideology than me. It's just no. Take what's good from everybody. Take what's interesting from everybody. Learn from everybody. Like if I couldn't look into things that I vehemently disagreed with, I wouldn't be able to understand Edward Bernays. I wouldn't be able to understand advertising. I wouldn't be able to understand the way markets work, the way that banks work, the way that just the financial system as a whole works. I find no interest in that stuff. I find it kind of despicable how you can uh, make money off of people's retirement accounts, but you have to understand it so that you can understand how you're being manipulated. It's very, you know what I mean? It's like it's a double-edged sword. Like information is only bad if you apply it in a bad way. Even negative information can be beneficial to you. Like even information that is somewhat evil and confronting and difficult to deal with, that can be beneficial to you. Maybe that's the kick in the ass that you needed to fix yourself, to fix something about your life.
Series abound. The X-Files is extremely popular on television, but I know that you've been following conspiracy theories for most of your career, including as far back as 25 years ago with the Illuminatus trilogy that you co-authored with Bob Shea. What got you involved in the interest in conspiracy theories in the first place?
Well,
This is the
actually,
book he's
that gets
talking
into
about.
the new book, too.
Very,
How it all
very interesting
started.
book.
It started with a fellow I used to know named Kerry Thornley, who was one of the co-creators of the only religion I've ever been able to really enjoy, the Discordian religion,
What's up, Amy? How's everything?
which is based on worship of Eris, the goddess of chaos, confusion, discord, bureaucracy, and international relations, the five levels of chaos in the world.
Just ask them why they came to that conclusion. Yeah, no, that's exactly like I hate how we can't even have conversations anymore. I hate how like, oh, this person believes something different from me, so I can't listen to anything they say.
And, you know, the argument for the existence
I
of
won't even
Eris
get into that environment.
is very simple.
I
If
didn't
Eris
see it. I
doesn't
didn't look
exist, who
into it.
put all this chaos here? Nobody can answer.
I trust corporations that make money off of my health. I think they're gonna do the right thing. I'm good. How are you? I mean, that's. I feel like it's been a little bit since I've seen you.
Anyway, Kerry got indicted by Jim Garrison as one of the Kennedy assassination team. And Kerry thought at the time, and all of us who knew him thought that Garrison was just off his head or an unscrupulous demagogue. And then, to our great surprise,
I mean, people could call it a conspiracy, but it's also like who cares? Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, why does it matter what someone else believes? Like, unless they're like actively hurting me, I don't care what you believe. Like, unless you're hitting me over the head with a hammer, I really don't care what you do. It's just like it's just such a dumb way of looking at the world that you need to control thought because it's like if a person can't think a bad idea, then you can't think your own ideas.
astonishment, a couple of years later, Kerry announced that he thought it was true, that while he was in the Marines, he thinks he remembers that he volunteered for an experiment, and he thinks they gave him drugs and brainwashed him and turned him into a zombie like the Manchurian Candidate. So he was part of the Kennedy assassination, but he didn't know it. And,
Oh,
he
it's
has some
Ramadan. Okay.
memories come back now and then.
Was he one of the fake Oswalds that were?
That
the
was one theory. That
pseudo-Oswalds?
was one of the theories Garrison promoted. Kerry met a guy in a bar in New Orleans who he thinks was E. Howard Hunt, who told him he was writing a book called Hitler Was a Good Guy. He doesn't remember anything else of that conversation. He met David Ferry once, another of the leading
This story is so convoluted.
suspect. He doesn't
Right.
remember that conversation. He was living 2 blocks from Oswald, whom he knew in the Marines, and he never met him. All those months they were living 2 blocks apart. So Kerry thinks his memory has been tampered with. And at one point he thought I was his CIA babysitter. Then you're really involved in conspiracy theory when you got a friend who's accused of being an assassin and he's accusing you of being the CIA mastermind. So you can't ignore.
This is so funny because if you ever talk to a paranoid person, it's this is exactly what they think. Is that everyone's up to something. Like, I'm sure you came across like I feel bad for these people because it is like being paranoid is one of the worst things ever. Um, but like there's like I don't even want to like because I feel bad every time I see one of these people. But like there's like pages on Instagram that'll just come up every once in a while for me, and it's like, oh, this person's following me, this person's following me, like the government's after me, and like this one person thought she was like in a relationship with a celebrity, and that it's like all types of like it's like weird hoops to jump through to like not see reality. And always there's always something underpinning that. There's always some sort of like harsh upbringing that fractured the psyche to be like that. But that's just getting too sad. We're not going to talk about that.
The subject after that. That's how I came to write Illuminatus, and after that I can never completely, although I've written on dozens of other subjects, and I hate to be identified with conspiracy theory because I have so many other things that I think are more important that I've written about, but I can't leave it alone entirely because every week in the mail I get tons of stuff by people who've read Illuminatus and want me to be informed about the latest conspiracy that they've just discovered. So
You guys know who Tim Dillon is? He used to talk about conspiracies all the time, and then he like made it big in stand up. So he was like, dude, I'm like making all kinds of money, and these people are like coming to my shows and giving me books. Like I'm done with it, and it's like it. There's a certain point where it's like I don't care anymore. Like what does it do to you? Like how does it affect you that this whole organization is shit? Like at a certain point, you just got to live your life and stop being obsessed with all these conspiracies and blaming the entire world burning down on this whole system and that you're not this way because there's this certain subset of people or this certain organization or a secret society that's holding you down. It's like, it's so funny to me, like the levels of cope and obfuscation and blaming these elaborate schemes on why you aren't the way you're supposed to be. It's
I can't get out of the conspiracy field entirely.
Well, what is it about the human psyche that seems to be drawn towards these conspiracy theories? Is it some love of the unknown, or some idea that there may be forces out there that are controlling our destiny? Or
Well, I think there are 3 factors. A, nobody likes to take the blame for their own problems, so they look for somebody else to blame.
I love how I just said that.
And if you can find a big enough group, you've explained everything in your life that doesn't work.
That's the parental conspiracy theory,
Yeah, it's
right?
not your fault. It's the fault. Yeah, if it's not your fault or your parents, it's the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the Jews,
This is so funny though, because this is really where a lot of like these theories come from. It's like, I mean, this is something Jung said, which is basically any person that grew up with like an authoritarian father figure is going to have a great disdain for authority. If that's not calling myself out, I don't know what is. Um, but it's usually people like that that want to bring down the system, that in their heads want to criticize the system, and then you have the people that had a good father figure are more on board with the idea of a government, more on board with the idea of authority. Whereas me, I'll always rebel against authority. So it's just there's some imprinting that's done very young that makes you one of two ways. Obviously, there's more than one of two ways, but vastly generalizing.
the
That's
Bilderbergers, the Council on
the
Foreign Relations of
Bilderbergs.
you got a lot of wide choice to pick who to blame.
Rich white man.
Yeah, as long as you don't have to blame yourself. That's one motive. And another motive is that we are living in very weird times. The world is changing faster. And
It's much better to be obsessed with something which is helping us in life. Yes, yes. And that's really like the what it really comes down to is like you can spend your time in a myriad of ways. It better be productive. It better be something that uplifts you. It better be something that gives you inspiration. Like the worst times in my life are the times when I wasn't doing something that I enjoyed. And I feel like this seems like something so simplistic, but like I was doing stuff for the sake of other people. I was doing stuff for the sake of society. I was pursuing dreams and pursuing goals, and all of my time was consumed by other people's ideas of me, not of myself. Now most of my day, I mean, obviously I still have some worldly responsibilities and I have things that I need to do, but each day I set aside time to meditate, to reflect, to read, to learn, to write, to stream, to film a video. Like there's a big chunk of my day that is for myself. There's a big chunk of my day that's for my own development. That's to make myself a better person. That's to refine myself so that I can better deal with the struggles of the world. You know what I mean? Like that's what drives me. It might not drive you, but like that's what a lot of my hobbies are. A lot of my hobbies are developing myself, are expanding my perspective, giving myself new ideas of things, challenging my old perspective, trying to express these ideas in novel ways, trying to synthesize ideas that I find interesting and put them into a poem or a story or a philosophical work. Like that's that's what I've put my focus to recently, and I've never been happier. And I can't tell you enough that like if something doesn't benefit you, don't put your time into it. How many people have driven themselves crazy in the past 10 years obsessing about politics? Like, I'm sure you have an uncle. I'm sure you have an aunt. I'm sure you have a teacher, a family member, somebody that's just like kind of just taken the spark out of their life because they just rage about politics all day. Even if their side's winning, even if they get their way, they're still going to find a reason to complain. There's always going to be a new bill. There's always going to be a new issue. You can't get away from problems in this world. The only thing you can do is learn how to deal with them better. And if you put your attention into a worldly pursuit, such as a political system, such as an ideology, such as a very dogmatic religious system, like you're not finding the soul of things, you're not finding yourself. The only thing that can make you happy in this world is following your own heart, following the things that really give you meaning. And a real hint is helping people in your life, giving back to others, developing yourself to be the person that you always felt yourself you could be, finding yourself in some creative endeavor. Those are the things that are going to make you happy. Those are the things that are going to give you fulfillment. Nothing in this world is going to give you fulfillment but for following those sorts of pursuits.
faster, which I think is due to the acceleration of information flow in the modern world. Information is increasing.
This is where he talks about the Terence McKenna kind of stuff, the idea of the technological singularity. Robert Anton Wilson measures it by the spreading of information and how much information is out there and how fast it doubles. If you don't know what the technological singularity is, essentially it's the idea that the more technology, the faster technology will advance. And eventually we'll get to a point where technology advances instantaneously and then world will become a utopia. I don't think that's the case. I think as technology gets better and better and better, it becomes more and more centralized in certain systems of power. Think of Palantir, think of Facebook, think of X, think of how these corporations, the more they control, the stronger they become, and the more influence they have over people's lives. It kind of sucks because technology should uplift humanity instead of enslave them. But hey, it is what it is, man. You can choose you can choose to spend your time doing fruitful things, or you could become absorbed in someone else's system. As William Blake said, I must create my own system or become enslaved by another man's. Contentment and pursuit are opposite. Um, Not necessarily. I'm saying pursuit in the sense of uh spiritual things, not physical things. I don't think the attainment of material possessions will make you happy, but I think you'll be content if you pursue a dream, if you pursue a process, if you pursue a uh, different idea about yourself and getting better at a skill or getting better at a hobby or writing a book or that sort of thing. Like there's obviously some material aspect attached to that, but it's the Tolkien quote. Not all who wander are lost. It's about the journey. It's not about the end goal. It's about the ups and downs. Think about like, you've heard like rappers like they almost reminisce about the times when they were poor. Like that's like a very common trend for them is like they really appreciate the come up. They really talk about the come up as much as possible. Same thing as athletes, same thing as anybody that worked their way out of something. The pursuit of advancement in tech takes us further from content. Oh, okay, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's just the Faustian bargain or the Promethean myth that Shelley wrote about. It's that is technology really advancing us, or do we already have everything we're looking for? I don't want to spoil Frankenstein, but that's essentially what it's about. I mean, Huxley wrote about this as well. Huxley has a series of interviews where he talks about, you know, do we do we actually need the technology that we're advancing, or does it diminish the capabilities of man? And in a certain way, I think we are diminished as human beings. Think about like, 20, 30 years ago when people would actually read things, when people would actually read books and their imagination was functioning. The Hobbit, when it was originally written, was a children's book. And now I think it's classified as like a ninth grade reading level simply because people are far less literate. And it's really a shame because it is a very childish book. It is a very easy story to read, and like it should be something that can be read by anybody. But we've almost evolved because we haven't faced the challenge. We haven't been faced to grow. We're not faced with the fight or flight. We're not faced with struggle. And if you're not faced with struggle, you can't develop in any way. I feel it diminishes us. Yeah, for
And
sure.
the transmission of information is going faster and faster due to internet and the whole computer revolution, which means that most people are living in a world they can't understand. And when people can't understand something, they tend to go for sinister explanations of it. Somebody is manipulating things in a way I don't like. That's the way people feel when things change too fast and they can't understand it. And the third reason is, of course, that there are lots of conspiracies around. You're supposed to be a nut if you think about conspiracies, unless you're a district attorney. Then you can bring in 20 people into the court and charge them under the RICO law with.
So the legal term of conspiracy simply just means, not legal advice, I have to say that. It means agreeing or planning to commit a crime. Like generally that's enough to charge you with conspiracy. It's just you have to agree to commit a crime and then you can be liable for that crime. And it's like a very like insidious way of kind of co-opting an official term with like a somewhat sketchy angle. Calling it a conspiracy theory is kind of like you can see the wordplay there. Children are born with a screen on their face these days. Yeah. I feel bad for the iPad kids because like how like you're going out in life without even a chance. Like I'm kind of on the tail end of like normalcy. Like smartphones weren't a thing until I was in high school. Or maybe they were, but they weren't that prevalent. Like, I still remember when my mom had like a phone that looked like a house phone. You know what I mean? I remember when there was flip phones. I remember that when that was like the latest cutting edge technology, and now it's like I can't imagine being born today and expect to have any sense of normalcy. Because at least I grew up with like the Justice League cartoons. Like at least I had good TV shows to watch when I was younger. Like, have you ever tried to watch like a kid show now? Like even if it's just on, I'm like, what is this? Like, how does anyone enjoy this? Where like, you can go back and watch SpongeBob. It's like in some ways you would appreciate it more because you're like, there's an adult joke here. There's this here. Like go back and watch the Shrek movie where the animatronics are singing. You'll get the joke. You know what I mean? I was born in the 1800s. I wish I was. I feel like I'm a romantic poet that was born too late. When I was a kid, when I have a kid, why can't I read? When Beano has a kid, he won't be an iPad kid. I know that much. Well, it depends how annoying. Because in some ways, I don't blame parents for like handing their children an iPad because like if that's the only way you can get them to quiet down in a restaurant, like I don't want to. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but like I don't want my kids to bother everybody as well. Your son is an iPad kid, but I don't have a smartphone. Do you feel like you failed as a father because of that? I mean, there's probably like interesting stuff you could show them. Like in all honesty, like there's probably great channels in science. There's probably great channels introducing them to good ideas as long as you filter the content and don't give them any of the postmodern kind of destruction of aesthetics and nothing means anything kind of message. Like I'm sure there's interesting things that you could do with technology, and I'm sure there's interactive math problems and cool apps that you could give them like to in some way benefit them. It's like anything. Like you use technology for good, but very few people do. Like you can research a whole lot of stuff on the internet, but most people just go on TikTok. Most people just go and destroy their brain instead of expand it. Like I wouldn't say I necessarily research a lot online, but like when I do, I can find stuff. I mean, Google search sucks, but like if you can know where to look or if you can go to the right places, you can find anything you're looking for. Like there's no such thing as like information that you can't find. Like that's the weird thing. It's like all the stuff coming out right now, all the stuff in the Epstein list, it's like most of it you can find already. Like most of the crazy shit, like the Hunter Biden laptops, like I was on TikTok and like I saw some crazy shit like 5 years before it became like an official thing. You know what I mean? It's like most of the information is already out there. It's just most people are too stupid to go look. It's like it's up to you to take your time to do the due diligence to find the stuff to, you know. That's why it's like it's almost like annoying that this stuff's coming out now because nothing's happening. Like absolutely nothing is happening and nothing will happen and it should just make you believe in the system even less, but it is what it is.
Conspiracy, even if they never met one another. And I mean, the government does recognize conspiracies. Every government does. There are laws against conspiracy, and conspiracies do exist. The question is, do any really big ones exist, such as the ones imagined in the more extravagant conspiracy theories?
Uh, Now, it's interesting that you should bring up that this may be a modern phenomena because if you go back through history, as you do in the encyclopedia, there have always been conspiracy theories. Was it Ishmael Reed, the novelist, who said the history of the world is the history of the war between secret societies?
Yes, I like that.
It's such an interesting quote. And to a certain degree, it's true because even geopolitics today is just the real geopolitics is the wars between intelligence agencies, I would say. Have you looked into the ball Saturn connection? No. I mean, a lot of that stuff's just like, if you do any research into like esotericism, it's just like, I just look at themes and how themes repeat and how themes are used. But again, I think people are too obsessed with the terminology, and I think people are too obsessed with like set belief systems and set isms, and I think it distracts you from the real stuff that's right in front of you.
That quote quite a bit because there's a certain element of truth in it, but it's just bizarre enough to make people sit up and say, "What?" you know. Actually, there's this parallel between the present condition and the condition around the year 1000.
Or the other millennium madness.
Yeah, most people think the Christian calendar is the true calendar. I spent a whole year dating all my letters with 11 different dates, just to remind all my correspondents that there's more than one calendar.
I love how he does this stuff just to, like piss people off. It's so funny. Like I feel like he perfectly embodies like the trickster archetype. I feel like that would be he would very much agree with
The
that.
millennium is like 600 years away in the Discordian calendar, and it's about 900 years away in the Mayan calendar.
And they've already had 7 millennia.
The Y Files did a video about kind of what he's talking about. I can't remember what council it was, but like there was a set amount of years missing from the Gregorian calendar, and they had to reconcile it, and then it led to this theory that like 600 years of history is missing or something, and that Charlemagne is fake, and like I just don't care. Like it's one of those things. It's like, what is this like? What is the dates changing? What does that change? I really don't see like a big difference. Like in China, it's a different year. In the Muslim world, it's a different year. I'm sure there's a calendar I'm not taking into account as well. Like it just doesn't really make a difference in my day to day.
Changes in the Chinese calendar, I think.
Yes,
So,
and but most people are thinking in terms of the generally accepted calendar, which happens to be a Christian calendar, which is kind of odd since this is not a Christian country.
well, let's go into that. You've mentioned this before, and I'm fascinated by your theory. It makes more sense.
I mean, there's this whole like is the Statue of Liberty. It was gifted by a Freemason, a French Freemason, to a group of Freemasons over here. And our country was founded by Freemasons, and Liberty, Lucifer, the Lightbringer, what's the torch? Like, I mean, it's not that crazy of a connection.
Than any other political.
Like just look at the symbols in Washington D.C. What's an obelisk? What are those murals of uh, George Washington with the as above, so below, the Hermetic principle? It's like, I mean, just look for 2 seconds. Like it's kind of funny.
Theory I've heard ever. Let's go into this a little. What do you mean, sir, that this is not a Christian country?
Well, for instance, the Constitution never mentions God or Jesus or the Christian religion. It grants absolute freedom for anybody to pick whatever religion they want.
Mentions nature and nature's God.
That's in the Declaration of
Oh,
Independence.
okay, all right.
And nature's God was a term used by the philosophers of the 18th century to signify an abstract deity.
Most of the philosophy in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence come from Cicero. Essentially, that James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, John Jay, when they were writing the Federalist Papers, very much based a lot of their ideas about civic virtue and civic duty off of the work of Cicero, who, if you don't know about Cicero, Cicero is a very interesting figure. Um, Probably a self-admitted asshole, but like he was a smart one, and he wasn't bashful about it. He wasn't bashful that he was smarter than everyone else. Caesar wanted him to be part of his dictatorship. Cicero said no. When Caesar died, Cicero basically tried to destroy the character of Mark Antony. Well, he didn't try, he did. Wrote this, in my version, it was 17 pages, 17 pages just denouncing Mark Antony as a man that would debase himself, a man that could not uh, conserve any sort of fortune, was very decadent, was a male prostitute because he couldn't spend his money right, and Cicero had to save him. And he said he essentially signed his death warrant with that statement. But when Cicero was dying, he said to the man that was killing him, he said, "What you're doing is dishonorable, but do it with honor." I think it's one of the coolest things that you could say in your dying moment.
Who created the world, but has nothing in common with the Christian God, the Jewish God, the Muslim God, the Hindu gods, or any other religious figure. This was a philosophical concept that Jefferson invoked, not a deity that people tried to bribe and get favors from. Mm-hmm. The deists, who were the dominant party behind our Constitution, the deists believed there was a God, but God did not do favors and could not be bribed, which knocks the bottom out of all organized religion, because all organized religion consists of techniques of how to bribe, cajole, or otherwise get favors out of the deity.
Sounds like Jim Morrison's line, "You cannot petition the Lord with a prayer." So.
Well, that's exactly what all the founding fathers thought.
Thomas Jefferson started Unitarianism, which is it's so weird that he started a religion. It's like if you look into like secret societies, the end goal of them is to start your own religion. So like Crowley started Thelema. I'm sure Jack Parsons had one. What are the other names? You have Theosophy with Blavatsky. Basically, the end goal is apotheosis. So that's probably what Jefferson was doing.
I forgot what I was going to add to that, so ask another question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted you. This is not a Christian country, and I know you had more...
George Washington, for instance, never used the word God in any of his public speeches or any of his private writings. He did use the word providence, which is a concept that deists share with the Orthodox. But when Washington used...
Washington was a Freemason. So if you know anything about Freemasonry, they basically accept all people that believe in any sort of entity, and then I don't know if this is a secret of Freemasonry, but they believe in a grand architect, which is just like a godhead, which is just created everything, and that humans just use different symbols. When you really study this stuff, it's all just the same. Like it's that Freemasonry is the same as the Rosicrucians, the same as the Theosophists, it's the same as the Thelemites, is the same as the Golden Dawn. Like it's all just esoteric wisdom. Esoteric wisdom. You can get it from anywhere.
Used the word providence. If he had to use a pronoun afterwards, he always varied between he, she, and it.
Gurdjieff saying
just to show that he didn't believe in any anthropomorphic. The idea of a god with a penis has always seemed hilarious to me. And now that the feminists are trying to offering us a god with a vagina.
The original Bible, it was Elohim, which is masculine and feminine. So that's why you see the Freemasonries, the top triangle, the bottom triangle. I don't feel like explaining what that means. It's the same thing as the Star of David, top triangle, bottom triangle, union of opposites.
That seems equally ridiculous. I'm more inclined to the it school of thought. Any cosmic mind, there's got to be an it. I can't imagine it being a sexual
My Freemason,
creature.
no, I'm not.
Well, if God is sexual, what kind of...
I read a lot of different stuff. No shade. No, it's fine. I would never join a group. I would never join anything because whenever you join a group, it's beneficial up until the point where you start questioning their beliefs. And when you question their beliefs, then you're no longer a part of it. And that's why I'm against any sort of set doctrinal thing. It's like I want to be able to have my own thoughts. I want to be able to talk about the things I want to talk about. I want to be able to look at things the way I want to look at it. I want to be able to be wrong. You can't be wrong if you follow dogma. You have to follow the dogma regardless of if you question or not. So
sex life does God have?
Pretty barren, I would imagine, if there's no goddess around to take care of him. Now, let's backtrack for just a second. If this is not a Christian country, we can kind of indicate that the founders of the country were all Masons. So this is more a Masonic
Most of them were
country
Masons.
than,
Yeah, well, the Constitution has a lot in common with the rules of a Masonic lodge, actually.
and doesn't that get right back to the conspiracy theory of a secret
Well,
society?
a lot of right-wingers think we have been run by a Masonic conspiracy. One of the theories I trace through this whole book and has many
The
variations.
thing is, like, these symbols are just reused throughout history. So, like, to pin it to any one set belief system is away from the point. And this is actually something I learned from Robert Anton Wilson is Adam Weishaupt. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, I think that's his name. He when he resurrected the Bavarian Illuminati, what he said is, we are going to use the guise of being in this group and controlling things from this group to actually evade people actually getting into the real truth of things, which is we're a group inside of a group inside of another group inside of another group. So whoever you think runs the world really doesn't. It's layers upon layers upon layers. It's like an onion. You can peel away one layer, but you don't get to the truth of things because it's above and above and above. And the real movers and shakers, they're in all of them. They're in like multiple ones. That's really the truth of it. It's a secret society inside a secret society inside a secret society. Think of like how there's clearance levels in the government. It's like that. Like there's 8 levels of clearance above the president. Do you think the president knows everything? Do you think the president's really making all the decisions? Sure, he has a lot of authority, but like there's, you know,
The theory that the French Revolution was a Masonic conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
There are various Masonic lodges that are blamed by different conspiracy theorists. Some think it's Masonry in general. Some think it's just the Grand Orient Lodge of Egyptian Freemasonry. Some want to blame the Grand Orange Lodge of Ireland. It depends on where you're looking, what part of the political spectrum you're looking from, which Masons you're most afraid of. I got a lot of friends who are Masons, so I'm not afraid of any of them.
Well, you don't seem to be afraid of much of anything. For a person who's an expert in conspiracies, you're probably the least paranoid.
just know that when you're blaming a group, you're wrong. That's always how it is. It's always a trap. It's the Hegelian dialectic. It's, oh, well, this person's bad, so you're too worried about this one person, this one group, and you don't look upwards. Why are you fighting your neighbor? You gotta fight above you. Am I a Long Islander? No, I'm not. One is external material, the other is internal spiritual. What are you talking about with that?
Person I've ever met. You have all the
No, I'm not from Long Island. I can't believe you would say that about me. That's so insulting.
data, but none of the fear that most everybody else who's involved in conspiracy theories.
Well, my belief is
Okay.
I don't believe in one big conspiracy that runs everything. That seems absurd to me, and there's so much evidence against it. I have more sympathy for theories like Carl Oglesby's Yankee and Cowboy War, where the ruling class is split and at war with itself, or the A. Albionic theory.
I think that's more plausible, but then even you have the wow, I didn't know I was gonna get into these concepts. White hat versus black hat, where it's like um, the powers that be give you a hero so that you believe in them, so that you unknowingly get to the same point, which is what a lot of people are finding out Trump was. He was just a white hat where he did everything that the powers that be wanted, instituted more power to Palantir, gave them more authority, and gave us more of a surveillance state. But who am I? I think it's really useful to not be like partisan in anything though, because you wouldn't be able to see that. You wouldn't even be able to say that if you were absorbed in my party versus the other party. You can't, you know, if somebody does something good, I can recognize they did something good. If somebody does something bad, I can recognize they did something bad. Beef with ourselves instead of just evaluate what they did for us. Like, the sayings like vote blue no matter who, or I'm gonna vote Republican. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could do because that means that the party doesn't have to win your vote. That means that they can keep doing the same shit and not solving anything. Like, I can't believe certain states that are going downhill continue to vote for the same party because at the very least, if you voted in the other party, at least they have the need to do something because if they don't do something, then the other party's going to get right back in. It's like, why don't you just evaluate every situation unbiasedly? Why don't you just evaluate every situation and say, you know what, this person did this, I don't like this person did this. It's just the illusion of choice is so funny to me. It's like there's no problem in this world that has one this solution or this solution. There's always like a thousand, but we're getting too in the weeds of things.
Where the British royal family and the Vatican have been fighting for 300 years, and everything else is the result of the two major conspiracies of the British royal family and the Vatican. But even that seems oversimplified. I prefer to think there's, at
They're tied together. I don't feel like getting into it, but
minimum, at any given time, there's about 24 conspiracies afoot. Carl Oglesby, the historian, once said, "A multitude of conspiracies contend in the night." And as far as I have been able to discover in all my years of being involved in, more or less unwillingly in this field, I cannot find any proof of any conspiracy that really existed, was really brought into court and convicted, that lasted more than 10 years before everybody double-crossed everybody else and the conspiracy fell apart.
It's more of
I hate how he makes such good points about these things because it's like you would think Robert Anton Wilson would be so on board with conspiracies, but he's really just he's telling you pump the brakes, evaluate things. It's easy to break free from the official narrative and go headlong into the conspiracy theory, but that's the other trap. You don't want to go from one solution to another because that's also not thinking. That's also not evaluating things. I'll be right back. Give me a second. I'm back.
a conspiracy of stupidity, it seems like, is running the planet.
I think that is the strongest conspiracy on the planet, is the conspiracy of the stupid.
Yeah.
To prevent schools from educating their children, because they want their children to be as dumb as they are, to prevent television from.
See, I disagree with this because the school system is based off of the Prussian model. And the Prussian model is essentially Prussia wanted to create a nationalistic military state. And what they were realizing is that 70% of people were missing the enemy on purpose when they were shooting. So, in order to get people to not do that, in order to go against human nature, they created kindergarten. They created a nationalistic system that pushed certain values, that pushed certain ideals, that molded children into perfectly fine soldiers. And Henry Ford, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, all of these people took that system and brought it to America to create better factory workers, to educate people enough to become worker bees, but not to become intellectuals, to not become people that actually changed the game. They didn't want Teslas, they didn't want creatives, they didn't want people that were capable of thinking for themselves. They wanted people that could follow the rules. That's why I would never be a good worker. I mean, it depends on the context, it depends on the job, because I think outside the box, but like you can't expect me to stay in the same place. You can't expect me to do the same thing my whole life. I would be terrible at that, just simply the way I'm wired. And that's why I need something that's challenging. I need something that's fresh. Like I would be horrible if you put me on a conveyor belt because I would become so bored of things so fast. If there's no challenge, I'm not interested. That's how I'm driven. And That's through my own self-education. But back in the day, I was a much more worker bee kind of individual because I was much more in the eyes of a school system, a better student, a better individual. Now I'm kind of a black sheep. Now I'm kind of somebody that's seen as weird because I don't conform to societal values. But I don't think that the education system is beyond its criticism. I think, in fact, it should be criticized because the easiest imprints that you can have are when you're young. And something Napoleon said, if you want someone to believe something, just repeat it to them enough times. So think about how many beliefs that you hold simply because they were ingrained in you from the time you were born. I was a yes man worker the old days. Yeah, I was too until like I want to say 2, 3 years ago. Like I don't have them up anymore because I don't agree with them. But I used to make videos on my other channel and I would basically tell people like you got to keep grinding, you got to keep doing this, you got to keep doing this. And I'm like I just took them down because I don't think that really embodies what I'm trying to say. And it's not even that they were bad. Like I think in a certain way they're inspirational and aspirational, but too much of the message was work, 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 work. Whereas now I'm like work but have a goal in mind. Work but enjoy the process. Work but love it. Such a sign of a sick society that someone so normal and likable and intelligent such as you feels like a black sheep. No, I want to be a black sheep. I enjoy being a black sheep. Like if I was the average person, society would be screwed. You know what I mean? Because like I'm very much like a eccentric creative. I really am. Like it's like if society was full of people like me, I don't think it could function. But I think like I mean think of Da Vinci, think of people that were ahead of their time. They were ahead of their time because they didn't conform to societal standards. That's why you always have people that are weird like me that don't fit in like me. It's not a bad thing. It's in fact like a functional mutation, I would say. What's up? Bino's #1 fan. I was like, what's her name again for a second?
Putting anything intelligent on as much as possible to keep
Well, with
them
the exception of this half hour, of course.
well, of course, yes. Present company excluded.
Well, you're half right. But, but now, are there since you've done massive research on the numerous conspiracy theories, are there certain hallmarks of a good conspiracy? Are there certain things that the best conspiracies have in common, like shadowy historical roots or conspiracy to control one particular aspect of life or
Well,
the
what I
mind?
have noticed,
If I was the average person, shocked for jokes would be a thing. Dude, we need Patrice back. Patrice was my favorite. Dude, I still listen to the old O&A videos. They're so funny. Like there's just a time where like things weren't all about politics, where the world wasn't like so self-centered, where like people were just people. I just I feel like that's always going to be a thing though. Like people always look back to what was and kind of idealize it. Like you even think about like there's a certain subset of people now that are like, oh, look at the 50s when things were perfect. It's like there's a lot about the 50s that weren't good. Like, does this mythic era you're talking about even exist? It's even like the secret societies that like trace their lineage back to Atlantis, like Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. It's like, was Atlantis ever even that good? Was it ever even real? Like, are you saying you descended from something better, or was it just people were people?
it's hard to pick a favorite. It depends on whether you want the craziest one or the most plausible
I'm just
one.
wondering if they have anything in common. Something.
Well,
What is
yeah,
it?
when you get into the more science fiction type conspiracy theories,
The
which,
X-Files type.
yeah, well, there are more X-Files type theories around than they've done on X-Files itself. There are so many conspiracy theories about various aliens meddling with us.
Pat Duffy doing that. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I don't get the reference.
This goes back to Charles Fort, who in the 1920s wrote a couple of books on that theme. There's all sorts of ideas about who it is, whether they come from Sirius or Zeta Reticuli, whether they're grays or some other types,
Or all of the above.
and when you get into that literature enough, you find out that it's the most science fiction and futuristic theories are curiously the most medieval.
If you really look at the themes, sci-fi just takes a lot of occult things. Like, I don't know how, like, there's a huge carryover between H.P. Lovecraft and occult themes, obviously because he was an occultist himself, but there's a lot of carryover between Dune and occult themes. Like, if you read Dune and you really analyze it, he really predicts a lot of like the transhumanist sort of stuff. He really predicts a lot of the cyclical nature of power and the commodification of resources, and it's almost as if he was cued in on something. Yeah, email it to me if it's interesting. If it's not, don't email it to me. I'll depending how long it is, I'll look at it. I won't be able I won't have time to go too far into it though until later this week. So
What it comes down to is a battle between good and evil on a cosmological level, with the Earth as just one part of the major. It goes back before Christianity to Zarathustra, who had the Ahriman and Mazda, these two gods who are in perpetual war with each other. And in Christianity, they made the good one God and the bad one the devil. But in
he's like miscategorizing it.
In
So
Zarathustrianism,
much
you're
to
never
go into
quite
that.
sure who's the good one or the bad one. You got to make a choice, but you don't know you're choosing correctly. You don't know who's going to win.
There's like a big idea of duality. The secret to duality is there's no right answer. It's the middle path. And this is something Manly P. Hall said. There's Saturn, Satan, which is the beastly nature, which is think of like thoughtless evil, like petty crime, like the brutal things that you hear about on the news, like stuff like that. And then you have the Luciferian side, which is the enlightened side, which is the utilitarian argument. You gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Oh, we gotta go to war because there's weapons of mass destruction, like the the preemptive strikes, like those sorts of things. And then you read Jung's Red Book, and it's the middle path is that you must understand your nature so that you can curtail it. You must understand your capacity to do wrong. You must understand your capacity to get emotional and strike out with rage, but you must also understand your capacity to look down on others because of your elevated position and use that against them. Even if you think it's right, it's not right because it's not right to force somebody else to live in a certain way. You know, people must guide themselves. People must see you as the inspiration and keep going. The money, I don't send me that kind of stuff.
Win, which I find more interesting.
All right, that's the end of the interview. Should we go to, yeah, let's go to Young. I feel like we had enough of Robert Anton Wilson today. We'll circle back to him eventually because he has a lot of really good stuff and a lot of like the thing about Robert Anton Wilson is he doesn't tell you to believe what he's saying. The purpose of him saying all these crazy things are for shock value are to break the habit of you being you, very much in a Gurdjieff sense of like man is a machine until he breaks himself out of the cycles of monotony. Until we're just gonna skip through the music because last time I listened to an intro, it got copyright claim for the music, and it took me like hours to edit it out. And then by the time I edited it out, it was no longer getting impressions, so I don't want to kill the VOD of this.
Navigation system from the top down. Jung was born in 1875 in Caswell, Switzerland, to a relatively impoverished rural pastor.
I don't like this. I know it's gonna get. Let's find another. Hopefully, there's
Everyone carries a shadow, and the
no
lesson
music,
is
no music in this one. So this is The Shadow, Carl Jung's Warning to the World. No tunes. Yes, exactly. No, because it's just annoying because it's like I don't know if it's done for the purpose of people not reacting to it, which I think is I see both sides too, because you don't want somebody mischaracterizing your words. You don't want somebody, you know, taking things out of context, which I don't think these people really need to concern themselves with though, because they don't go into politics, they don't go into sensitive subjects. They kind of keep it highbrow and they talk about things that like somebody that's going to mischaracterize you is not going to search out Carl Jung. Somebody that's going to try to make you say something or call you a bad word or make you seem bad, like they're not interested in Carl Jung. They're interested in drama or news or dumb shit. They're not interested in Jung. Jung is where you go to get away from all that stuff. So, but yeah,
embodied in the individual's conscious
this
life.
is
But Black
Eternalized. This is a good channel too. There's a lot of there's a lot of good philosophy channels. There's a lot of bad ones as well. But like this channel is really good at giving you like a pretty good overview and summarizing the main ideas. Obviously, nothing comes close to the actual text. So if you like anything that you see in any of these videos, you like anything that you see in my streams, I urge you to pick up the original because whatever I understand from the original is just my understanding. Where these works are so deep, these works are so essential that like they're well worth you doing your due diligence and going to pick them up. I don't know if I say that enough, but like if I ever mention an interesting idea, that's why I always try to cite where the ideas come from so that you can go find them yourself. And I don't know if anybody ever takes me up on that, but that's essentially why I do it.
and denser it is. If an inferiority is conscious, one always has a chance to correct it. But if it is repressed and isolated from consciousness, it never gets corrected and is liable to burst forth suddenly in a moment of unawareness. At all counts, it forms an unconscious snag, thwarting our most well-meant intentions.
So what he's saying here is if there's something about yourself you don't like and you don't face it, you don't confront it, you don't try to overcome it, then it's going to affect you when it worst possibly can. And an easy way to like my favorite way of explaining that so what he's talking about is Jung's shadow, Jung's idea of the shadow. Essentially what the shadow is it's the parts of yourself that you bury to be part of society. So like, you know, when somebody says something mean to you, you don't immediately punch them in the face because that's not the right thing to do. But meanwhile, you have this anger, you have this rage, and it kind of just goes unrewarded, unfulfilled. And there's these emotions, there's these actions, there's these essence, the essential parts of ourselves that go unfulfilled because we try to fit in, unfulfilled because we are part of a collective, and it's not right for you to exact your will on other people. And again, none of these things are necessarily wrong. It's just that we can find good ways to express these emotional forces. We can find good ways to, in some way, express the parts of ourselves that are going dormant. And if we don't, that's what happens when, somebody gets cut off on the road and the person goes crazy and you know, there's endless stories of people vastly overreacting to minor things, doing something stupid. That's the shadow coming out. I'm sure you can think of a million instances in your life where somebody did something to you, it was very minor, and after the fact, you're like, why did I react like that? Why did it go so crazy? You went crazy because you're not reacting to that person. You're reacting to everything that happened to you. You lost your cool, and when you lose your cool, the shadow is shown. The unconscious is made conscious and it's made unconscious in a way that you don't like. But how do we curtail this? How do we get this out in a good way? And really I want to use a hermetic principle, which is everything is everything is just different expressions of the same thing. Emotions are just energy. There's polarity. There's love and then there's hate, but they exist on the same spectrum. So it's like I'm sure everybody's experienced this where it's like they're going through they think is a bad breakup, that person hates them, that person, oh, why'd you do this to me? Why'd you do this to me? And then the next like day, like you guys get back together. That's because hate and love are the same thing. They come from the same place. It's just different expressions. It's a different polarity. It's a different, you gotta control your anger, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Okay, how do you control your anger when people are gonna continue to piss you off for the rest of your life? You take that energy that would be used for that anger and you put it to something fruitful. Say you're an angry person, okay, well, go in the gym and get rid of that need to express yourself physically. Go train jujitsu so that you can get that anger, that emotion out. Go paint a painting so that emotion will then be carried to the canvas. Go write a story so that emotion will be expressed in that way. Go on a run, go on a walk, express yourself in a different fashion aside from an emotional outburst. That's essentially the important aspect of what this video is going to talk about. And I don't know if I spoiled it. I feel like I did. I feel like I went through what really needs to be grasped from the Jungian idea of shadow.
Carl Jung talks about two types of shadows: the personal shadow, the unknown dark side of our personality, and the collective shadow, the unknown dark side of society. Starting with the personal shadow, Jung calls it the thing a person has no wish to be. It represents unknown or little known attributes and qualities of the ego. It is the sum of all those unpleasant qualities we like to hide from ourselves. The shadow contains inferiority,
Compassion and anger, I think of it. What do you mean you think of the same thing? Life is a shadow battle? Yeah.
which everybody has but prefers not to know about. They seem weak, socially unacceptable, or even evil. The shadow is most visible when one is in the grip of anxiety or other emotions, under the
Think when you can least control your mask. Like think we wear masks to be part of society. Like, do you talk in the same way you do to your friends as you do to your mother or your grandmother? Do you talk the same way professionally that you do to your mother or your friends? Like in all different scenarios, in all different contexts, we kind of slip behind a different mask. And what Jung says lies behind these masks or these masks that we wear are the real personality, the real aspect of yourself. Contentment is in the middle, yeah, for sure.
influence of alcohol, etc. One may suddenly blurt out a hostile remark during a friendly conversation. When we do not want to assimilate what we despise, we project it onto others. It is possible for one to be acquainted with one's shadow and be partly conscious of it, that is, under ego control.
The easiest way to see what your shadow traits are, too, what do you criticize others for? What do you hate about other people? Think about your greatest enemy. What don't you like about them? Because that's what you need to work on. That's your insecurity. That's what you're projecting onto the world. And there's some element of that. Usually it's not a lot of times it's not as simple as you think it is. It's not the guy in the big truck that's really short. Like it's not always that easy. Sometimes it's a deeper psychological thing. Sometimes it's like like for me at one point in my life, it was like, well, this person's an idiot, this person's this person's that. Like, why am I judging other people's intelligence? What is that? It's because in some way I don't think I'm as intelligent as I actually think I am. Like that's as simple as it was. That's really what the projection was. And once I started to come to grips with like, okay, I don't need to know anything. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to have a take on everything. I can just be myself. And if people think I'm smart, then people think I'm smart. It doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't base my ego off that anymore. I don't base my ego off of being right all the time. But where at one point I did, and I've moved past it. And it was only through that observation that I'm constantly tearing people down for this facet. Why am I doing this? It's only through the observation of what you hate about people, what you don't like about other people, that you can move forward with yourself. Because what you need to understand is a healthy mind, a healthy conscience doesn't tear people down. So if you're tearing people down, there's something wrong with you. Like obviously there's something wrong with everybody because there's no such thing as a perfect person. But you can work on it. You can work at it. You can become introspective. You can become better. You can understand your lesser natures better. And if you understand it, that's always the first step. Think about what is it, 12 step, this 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to admit you're an alcoholic before you can fix it. It's the same thing with your character flaws. It's the same thing with your personality. The aspects of yourself you don't like, you have to observe first. You have to understand your capacity to do wrong. You have to understand your capacity to be petty or angry or aggressive before you can begin to curtail it.
Many people, however, refuse to recognize the shadow so completely that the ego is not even aware of shadow behavior and thus has no possibility of commanding it. Under these conditions, the shadow is autonomous and may express itself in inexplicable moods, irritability, and cruelty. Throughout his writing, Jung refers to the importance of developing awareness of the shadow in psychotherapy and its projections in the individual's life.
You can also do dream analysis too, which is dream analysis is hard because you have to understand symbols, and I don't know how to teach you guys how to understand symbols. I wish I did. It's like I just get it right away, otherwise I'd try to explain it.
Although the shadow is usually perceived as negative, it can also
If you
be
read a lot of
positive. In
poetry,
fact, exploring our shadow gives us access to many positive qualities. Jung writes that the shadow displays a number of good qualities, such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc.
and what he said there is important. Our shadow displays a number of good qualities such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc. It's not that your shadow is bad. It's that these traits are going to be expressed one way or another because they're a part of yourself. So would you rather have them expressed in a good way or in a bad way? That's really what it is. Dream analysis is bunk. What are you talking about? Dream analysis is like most people I would say don't do dream analysis like right. Like if you read the interpretations of dreams, I don't think anything Freud says in there is like really that interesting or really that fascinating, but there are elements in your dream that if you can understand, you know where to go. So like for example, like I had a dream the other day where I was building a house and I asked my dad for help and he refused to help me. And then I woke up and I realized what the dream was telling me is like, you have to make your own life. You have to go out on your own. You can't keep living in your dad's shadow. That's all it was. So it's like, that's an insight I haven't felt for my life as it is, but like, that's a deep insight into my psychological makeup. There are metaphors everywhere for those with eyes to see. I mean, I think it's more of an intuition thing. I think like if you're good with symbols, you can understand it, but I don't think most people could do it. But I don't know. It takes a level of honesty with yourself, which is difficult. That's why I don't like say like, oh, this is the most important thing about Jung. Like I think it's much easier to look at your projections. Dreams are projections of real life experiences. I mean, in a certain context they are, in a certain way they are. I mean, there's no one set answer to what dreams are though. That's the other thing you'll realize. So if you study dreams, you'll get 1,000 different answers from 1,000 different people.
Appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc. One of Jung's closest collaborators, Marie-Louise von Franz, writes, "The shadow is not necessarily always an opponent. In fact, he is exactly like any human being with whom one has to get along, sometimes by giving in, sometimes by resisting, sometimes by giving love. Whatever the situation requires, the shadow becomes hostile only when he's ignored or misunderstood. The shadow contains all sorts of qualities, strengths, and potentials, which, if remain unexplored, give us a state of impoverishment."
I was able to relate the dreams that I remember to why I was dreaming such a way. Yeah, I mean, Freud said your dreams, your dream has some connection to the day before, which is, I think I somewhat agree with. There's some weird connection to what you were thinking about before you slept to what your dream is about if you remember it. But can we ever make sense of the depths of the mind or the depths of the psyche? That's really the question.
In our personality, creating unconscious snags which inhibit the growth and embodiment of these good qualities that lie dormant in our psyche. For instance, a person might believe that being assertive is being rude or aggressive, losing the qualities of confidence and the ability to speak up for himself in an honest and respectful way, which in turn may lead to less productivity, make it more difficult to get a raise or job promotion, struggle with money, and so on. So, when a person encounters an assertive person, deep down he feels resentment and guilt, which makes his shadow.
He's just talking about projection here. That's what I was saying earlier, is that you hate about other people what you don't like about yourself. So in this characteristic that this person embodied their shadow traits, but they can also embody your real traits that you don't recognize. That's why projections are a very tricky idea to think about because in some way we all project our ideas of reality onto reality itself. So it's just I think it's a cop out a lot of times, but there is a layer of truth in it at all points.
Blacker and denser. These valuable aspects ought to be assimilated into actual experience and not repressed. It is up to the ego to give up its pride. We also encounter our shadow in our dreams, as a person of the same sex as the dreamer. It is what seems to be a criticism of our character from the unconscious, an inner judge of your own being that reproaches you, and the result is usually embarrassed silence. We must identify the contents of the shadow and integrate them into our personality. This is the process of the realization of the shadow, also known as shadow work. Here,
You'll hear this. It's almost like one of those phrases that you like roll your eyes at when you hear shadow work. Like that's just one of those terms that people like throw around a lot. Just introspection. Look at yourself. Look at yourself in a different lens. Look at yourself from a bird's eye view. Remove your emotions to your situation and evaluate how you're acting. Evaluate how you did something and learn something from that. That's essentially what this is. I think people get too into the weeds of these ideas, of these systems, of these terms, of these words. I think they miss the real meaning. That's why like I've sort of strayed away from reading Jung or these more systematic writers, these more systematic philosophers, because I think the truth is in poetry. The truth is in experience. It's Kierkegaard's leap of faith. It's that I can't tell you what God is. You have to experience it yourself. That's Dante's Divine Comedy. That's the final summation of Dante's whole journey.
begins the painfully and lengthy work of self-education. One must enter into long and difficult negotiations with the shadow, a work, we might say, that is the psychological equivalent of the labors of Hercules. Through shadow work, one can observe one's shadow outwardly by watching one's emotional reactions and being radically honest about one's interactions with others, and inwardly by exploring one's dreams. This allows one to become enlightened and reduces the shadow's destructive potential.
Again, dream analysis is very difficult. You don't necessarily have to do dream analysis. Everything is already there in your projections, in the things you don't like about other people, in the things you don't like about politicians. Like, I had to explain this to my mother the other day. She's like raging about politics. I'm like, this reaction that you're giving is really just you not liking yourself. And she immediately shut up and immediately started thinking. And I felt bad afterwards because I'm like, I didn't mean to ruin her day like that and make her get all sorts of introspective. But I'm tired of people whinging about politics and not understanding that like for you to give an emotional reaction that strongly is just you misplacing yourself, you misplacing your self judgment. You know, if you really think the whole world needs to change and you are completely right and you are in no way wrong, then I don't know what to tell you. Like the way you view the world will reflect back to you. Most shadows just require us to take them, not to take them seriously, to learn to make fun of them. There's a very salient point in there, and that's I don't know if he's going to talk about the collective unconscious. He's not going to talk about it, but how long have I been into dream analysis? I do it to myself. I don't have a therapist. I never will have a therapist. I've read too much about the CIA therapist to ever get one. Because essentially what a therapist is they do low levels of hypnosis on you, and I could do low levels of hypnosis to myself. I studied this stuff enough where I could just do it. Um, and I'm very honest with myself. Nobody in the world is harder on me than I am on myself, and it's to a fault. It's not a good thing. But ever since I started studying Jung, I started noticing, and I don't write them down. I don't like writing down stuff. I do it very spontaneously. If I have a nightmare, I wake up, I realize what it was about, and then I go back to sleep. It's that simple. But I'm also a weird person. But what Environmat is saying, because there's a very good point I want to make here. And Jung said there were certain archetypes of the collective unconscious that we all somewhat embodied, we all somewhat understood. And two very familiar ones are one, the trickster, and two, the hero. And what Jung said is in the process of individuation, in the process of finding your soul or individuation, I'll use those terms interchangeably now, but in the process of finding yourself, you must first become the trickster. You must first play around with the darkness. You must make light of the darkness. You must make fun of it. You must, make the jokes that are offensive to society. Think of the comedian. Think of the fool. Think of the person that was the only person in the kingdom that could make fun of the king and not have their head chopped off. It's because they didn't take it serious. And on your path to enlightenment, you must first not be taken serious. You must first be made fun of. You must first be a fool. You must not be a master of things. And then you eventually work yourself up to the hero archetype and then the old man archetype. And then you are educating the next generation about how to do things. That's essentially the cycle of life through the Jungian archetypes.
Not so much, as it were, by waging war
I don't know if
against
that
the
makes sense.
darkness, but by bringing the darkness to the light to the
When I talk about symbols, symbols are like the easiest thing for me to understand. And that's why when I talk about themes or repeating patterns, I see through them instantly. But let me know if I'm
darkness. As Jung writes, there is no light without shadow, and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. One must not strive for perfection, but rather wholeness of personality. The lifelong process of individuation creates a balance between one's conscious and unconscious realms, aligning the ego to the self, the totality of one's personality. However scary or
the conscious. He didn't explain this earlier, but the conscious is everything you can remember, and the unconscious is everything that has happened to you, every experience, every imprint, every song you listen to, every conversation you had, every TV show that you listen to that you can't remember but affects you in subtle ways.
dark it is to confront our shadow, finding truth brings relief. Discernment of the truth is the process of authenticity, a painstaking excavation into the depths of our being, to explore possibilities and limitations, distortions and the buried and often forgotten parts of ourselves and abilities. Most people, however, are too indolent to think deeply about even those moral aspects of their behavior of which they are conscious, let alone to consider how the unconscious affects them. The shadow can also consist of factors that stem from a source outside the individual's personal life. Here's when we stumble upon the collective shadow.
Think of collective ideas which we all understand, like if you're in a certain country, what your flag represents, the ideals it embodies. Like you can't really speak to what it is, but you have this like mythic idea of it. Think of Manifest Destiny, American Dream, certain ideas like that, certain collective movements, what they embody. Could you ever actually define it, or is it more of just like a summation or a feeling? Um, I mentioned the hero archetype. What is a hero? Every culture has a hero. Every culture has some sort of idea of self-sacrifice for the good of society. And why is that rewarded? And why is that noble? Why is that something we should aspire to be? The old man archetype. Why do all great stories have some sort of old man in it? Think of Lord of the Rings with Gandalf, or think of various other stories where there's the wise old teacher that guides the hero to be the greatest he could be. What is this? What are these things that we see in every single story in every single facet of our lives? Why are these things? That's what the collective unconscious. That's the idea of it.
The dark side.
Now you could take it just as some sort of collective imprinting, some sort of collective understanding, or you could take it as some sort of connective force, which is what Jung thought it was, which is what I sort of lean to. But
Or the unknown or little known aspects of a society and culture. It consists of that which opposes our shared and collective values. The collective shadow refers to a huge, multidimensional, often horrifying yet elusive aspect of human life, to an immense
think of revolutions, think of political movements that spring up from nothing. Sort of reactions to cultural norms. Think of the hippie movement developed because of the Vietnam War and the US's involvement in foreign wars unnecessarily.
immensity of harm inflicted by human beings upon each other and the natural world, and to the vast after effects of such harm in subsequent generations. We find the collective shadow in the projection of darkness and inferiority, in violence and oppression, in the invisibility of current suffering, in the denial of current responsibility. While collective shadow material may be acted out brutally in wars, massacres, and genocides, it may also hide under the often attractive cloaks of missionary activity, such as mandating the use of particular languages, and Orwellian reality that we are experiencing in the present time, as is the
I don't know if you've heard this recently, but oh, you can't get away with that anymore. You can't say that kind of stuff. Oh, everyone's so PC. Like these sort of collective ideas. Think of like, 10 years ago, if you heard something that was offensive, you might laugh. Now, if you hear it, you're like, you can't say that. Like, you know what I mean? These are collective sort of ideas that we hold now just because you've heard it repeated enough because it's become part of the psyche.
nature of all
Not making a comment. It's not bad or good. It's just there's cycles of consciousness. There's cycles of ideas. Things are in fashion, and it's like going back to like a historical figure and judging them for something they did. It's like they're just a product of the time. Like I'm sure they'd be different. I'm sure they would have different ideas about certain things if they were born
shadow
today.
material, whether individual or collective. Its existence and influence may
Times have
be
changed.
pervasive
Times
without
have
being
always changed,
obvious. The
though.
collective shadow manifests outwardly in atrocities, persecution, physical suffering, sickness, poverty, malnutrition, alcoholism, crime, the death of cultures, and so on. It may also manifest more inwardly amid the complexities of each individual psyche as hatred toward oneself, one's heritage, and one's culture, depression and feelings of impotence, the desire for revenge so that others might experience something like one's own pain, etc. The collective shadow is what has historically been labeled evil. In the Christian
You can't say that now. Can't say what now? Oh, why am I an idiot? It's like I feel like I say this every stream. Heraclitus' idea of you can never step in the same river twice. Everything's always changing.
tradition, it would be the devil, and someone who's possessed by the devil loses his human quality and acquires a demonic nature. Our primary response to evil, for Jung, must be the quest for self-knowledge, for wholeness, which presumes the assimilation of shadow material. The individual must know relentlessly how much good he can do and what crimes he's capable of.
Must know relentlessly how much good he can do and what crimes he's capable of. And essentially, the guiding principle that you should understand from Jung is that man must go to the depths of hell, to the depths of his psyche to confront his own unconscious so that he could be whole. Because the aspects of yourself that you hate, the characteristics about yourself that you hate, are you. If you can't accept yourself, then how could the world ever accept you? How could your life ever be good if the person that you spend the most time with you hate? How could you love anyone else? It's that idea. It's the middle path. It's the acceptance. It's like I love myself, flaws and all. I love my imperfections because that's what guides me to be on the pursuit of betterment. That's what allows me to strive to become better. If I was perfect, if I could do everything right first try, there would be no point to life. There'd be no point to living because I just get it right away. I could win the lottery every single day. Anything I do, anything I try, I'm perfect at. There's no point.
When there is an issue known in a particular society, it can be called a shadow issue if there's evidence of denial, projection, and a lack of taking individual and
Your
collective
teeth are
responsibility.
shadow.
Therefore,
What? What does that even mean?
taking responsibility morally, politically, and spiritually is particularly crucial. The courage with which we bear our darkness frees others from having to carry it for us. For instance, to respond to examples of massive historical suffering, wars, genocide, holocausts, pervasive oppression, etc., the effects of which persist. As human beings, we have much to learn in that regard. Denial, often connected with a wish to get on with things and put the past behind us, seems the most common approach and usually the first reaction. There are and have been many attempts to deal with difficult, painful past.
There's the two-sided thing. There's the people that want to forget and the people that want to cling on to it, but it's the middle path again. It's understanding that things happened and moving forward with that knowledge to prevent them. It's just I don't know what this guy's talking
Through
about.
public apologies for supporting atrocities, repentance, reparation,
What the fuck is that gonna do? Okay, somebody like kills my family member, they apologize to me. Does that make it okay? It doesn't. It's just it's like the what is that? Like you understand the Tuskegee experiment took like 40 years for them to apologize for. Like I'm done with public apology. That means absolutely nothing.
payments after wars, pilgrimages to places of great suffering, regarded as successful, wake people
All
up.
right, we're done with this video. Good until that last part. I just think I think people have like a blind spot when it comes to politics, and they forget the ideas and the beliefs that they just mentioned when it comes to politics. Like politics are collective movements. I don't see them anything as just collective whims of a crowd, and more evident of what the psyche and consciousness of human beings are at any given time. And I don't think it's useful to see them as anything else because it's just all cyclical. You lost a few teeth recently, and you feel you're not attractive now. And that's not really a shadow. Your shadow is more so how you view yourself now, but that sucks though. Yeah, I chipped a tooth and it like bothered me for like a month. It's like just stopping. Just now not bothering me anymore. But yeah, with that said, I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you guys for a very fun stream. It was a good time. I think we talked about a lot of different things. For those of you that are members, I think I signed the Babylon lottery. I think that's what it's called. It's a few pages. We're gonna talk about that on Sunday, probably around noon, one, sometime around then. I'll put out a post that day when I'm ready and gonna stream and set everything up. So let me know if anything conflicts. If you want to be part of that, become a channel member. If you don't, just stick around for the other streams. I might see you guys next Wednesday. Um, I have something that day and I might be too tired, but at the very least, if you don't see me Wednesday, you'll see me Thursday, Friday for sure, and then again next week. But yeah, want to become a member, another stream on Sunday. If not, see you guys when I see you. Thank you guys for being here. Love you guys so much. Have a good rest of your Friday. Environment, have a good rest of your Saturday. With that said, peace out.